What's going on, people? Welcome to your 29th Java game development tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to be going over more of the key listener class and what it actually means and what we can do with it. And when we implemented the key listener class, it gave us pretty much access to the user information via the keyboard. Now, when we implemented this key listener class, we need to implement three methods, and these methods are pretty much the things that you can do with a keyboard. So they're pretty much two different things that you can do with your keyboard. You can press buttons, and that's a method, and you can release buttons, that's a method. Now there's one other method in this that's called key typed, and that has to do with when you giving the typing action, like clicking it real quick, but we're just pretty much going to do nothing with this because it's useless in games like 99% of the time. It's just there because they could put it in there, so why not? So the first method we have access to since we implemented this key listener is we made a promise that we're going to use this method called key pressed. So let's go key pressed right there. So let's go ahead and name public void key pressed. And what this method does is it's going to take a key event object, key event, and that event is you pressing a key on your keyboard. So whenever you have E, that means the button pressed down. It's pretty much the event that happens. So now what this method says is, alright, whenever you press a button on your keyboard, this is the method I'm going to call because that's what I know how to do. So whenever you implement this key listener class, you have a method that pops up whenever you press a button down. This is the code I want to happen. So since we got to the code, let's give it something to do. Well, the key code, first of all, well, let me go ahead and type this line, then it might make a little more sense. Int key code equals e dot get key code right there. Now let me give you a little background information. Every key on your keyboard has a key code, and this is kind of a weird way your computer recognizes the keys on your keyboard. And actually my next kind of line will be a lot easier. The first thing we're going to want to do is note when they press down the escape key. So let me go ahead and I'll show you all these key codes. So let's go ahead and put, if that key code, if the key pressed down, if key code is exactly equal to key event dot, where is it, vk underscore, and here is pretty much all the key codes. It's vk underscore, and they have some weird things like N would be the N, Z would be the Z button on your keyboard, undo, they have things like Alt Tab, and let's just go ahead and make the one for the escape, ESCAPE. So this right here is the key code for escape. So if key code is exactly equal to escape, so let me run you guys through real quick what's going to happen. It's going to take a key event whenever you press down a button, and that button is going to be stored pretty much as E. So every button has a code, and the code for the escape button is vk underscore escape. And so you're going to say, alright, if the button you press down, if that key code is equal to the escape button, so if you press down the escape button, what do you want to do? Well, what we want to do is pretty much just stop our entire program. And if you're wondering, alright, why did I call the stop method right here and we didn't build a stop method in this class yet? Well, remember, we inherited from this core class, which pretty much gave us all these methods. And since we did, we were able to call this stop method right here, and all it does is set running equal to false. And what that would do is in our game loop, while we put while true or while running, it would set while false, and it would stop running this entire code. So that is pretty much all we have to do for right there, and that's just pretty much saying, alright, if the button you press down, if the key code is equal to the escape button, then stop the program. But what do we want to do if the button is not equal to the key code? So let's go ahead and make else for if you press down anything besides the escape button, what do we want to do? Well, first of all, let's go ahead and change our message, because that's pretty much what we're here for. Let's go ahead and pressed and put a semicolon because it looks nice. And now after this, you can just add a little plus, key event dot get key text, and key code right there. And what this is going to do is what get key text means is pretty much, well, you'll see, it's pretty much simplicity for if you press down the J button, it's going to say pressed H. If you press down L, it's going to go pressed L. And that's pretty much the key text. And as a parameters, you want your key code, of course, and we set that equal to the key code right here, which is pretty much your button. Anytime I say key code, it pretty much means your button. Just key code is what your Java calls it. And the last thing we need to do, that's the only weird thing, is consume our keys. Now here's what consume means, and don't forget to put it on E, which is your button. What consume means is sometimes when you're working with your keyboard and stuff, aside from tab, you can also get some weird things with like alt and stuff like that. And what alt does is, if you remember, in some applications, if you put alt F or alt C or alt something, like alt F would make the file appear. So some keys can be used in combination with other keys to do something weird, and we don't want our computer program to be waiting for other key combinations to happen. What we want to do is say, alright, when you press Alt, it's an Alt. When you press T, it's a T. When you press F, it's an F. So instead of waiting for other combinations of buttons and stuff like that, it just takes the button you pressed, which is the E, and it just consumes it. So it says, alright, this is E, I'm going to eat it, what up? I'm going to eat it up, what's next? Alright, this is Alt, I'm going to eat it up, what's next? So that's pretty much what consume does. That's the only other weird thing we have to go over for now. So that's all you get for this tutorial. There are two other methods we implement. Again, like I said, whenever you press down a key, Java is automatically going to call this key pressed method right here. And what it does is it takes the button's code, it checks if it's the escape. If it is, it's going to stop your program. And if it's not, it's going to print out a little message that says you pressed that button, and then it's going to eat the button right up and not wait for another combination or anything like that. So since we have key pressed, we need to give it an event when you release the key, and also we need to take care of that other key type, and last but not least, we need to do our draw method to draw that message on the screen. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next tutorial.